Howdy all there virtual farmers, thanks for clicking in. Welcome to a little guide on navigating and surviving the caves of SunnySide. If you've already been playing the game for a while, you probably already know that the caves are our main hub for mining resources, rocks, clay, iron, etc. Not to mention all those high profit gemstones. But it's also where we face some resistance in the way of battles against the Zant, an ancient manifestation that dwells below everything happening in our fantasy Earth world. The first time you visit the cave, you will find Sparky the Zant, more specifically the Sparkatic drone that's been tasked with studying humans on behalf of the other Zant population, and the progression of these caves reveals more about Sparky's story. In the beginning, you two will bicker a bit about the accidental reboot of Sparky's programming before he passes out. It will be several days of waiting while he's at Tech Hero being repaired, while access to the full caves is still closed off. However, once Sparky is back to following you everywhere, the rock wall at the back of the cave will disappear into a portal which can be passed through to a new underground world. There are 5 levels in total, each one with visually different environment and the addition of a new hostile NPC that will patrol the depths. With each of these new NPCs comes a new set of strategies on how to take them down. The levels also differ slightly in the ores that spawn with increasingly profitable gemstones that will also be required for accessing caches throughout the zone and to open gates between sections in the caves. The color of the caches and the gates are a hint to which gems are needed to open them, but the color coding can sometimes be hard to decipher. Many resort to just loading up the action bar and trying one of everything. The first level of the caves is called the Barrens, a fairly generic underground environment filled with patrolling Oni that will pace around in small paths. They can be avoided by staying out of the beam of light ejecting from them. If they detect you, the light will turn a darker amber color, but you still haven't fully aggroed them at this point. If you can't evade them, it will pull you into the battle interface. You may notice in the skill tree at the Kashiwa Shrine that future skills will include some more avoidance, allowing you to pass much closer to them without attracting their attention. The first level is pretty easy. You can almost one-shot them with every attack on cozy mode, so it can be worth clearing the entire zone for experience points to start working on your battle skill tree. Sporadically throughout the caves there are lit-up blueprint campsites. If you throw in the required materials of a sleeping bag and a tent, it will activate this campsite, creating a fast travel point within the cave. Beyond battling, the objective in each level is to find 4 power stations and reactivate them before engaging a final power switch at the end of each level, which then opens a final gate to a boss fight. Another useful switch to look for along the walls of the caves are download points, which Sparky will interact with to reveal more parts of the map. You're able to open the map interface and look around for the quest marker locations to help you find the power stations 1 through 4. If you've been unable to locate the map download points, the power stations will still highlight. A way to find them can be looking along the walls for large power cables that light up in red, yellow, green, and blue. Following the cables will often lead you to the next power station. There was a bug that was reported by several users that has to do with reactivating power stations out of order. The color cables along the walls don't light up, acting as if the power station was never touched, but it seems that that's a small glitch. Many also report that they're still able to activate the main power station after restarting the 4 stations and pass through the boss. Each level has a unique boss tied to the environment. Each one will further reveal more about Sparky's story. After defeating the boss, you will be able to pass through the gate into the next level of the caves, and every entry afterwards at the entrance will give you the option to return to each of the different zones. At the end of Cave 2 and 4, there are also elevators which will port you to places on the above-ground map that have special gatherables like wasabi, goji, and bilberries. Now let's get into the battle skills themselves. When entering into battle with an NPC, you'll get a number of options to select: attack, guard, battle pack, escape, and glossary. Attack will advance you to the part of the interface where you can pick from your Ofuda spell cards to cast debuffs or attacks. The attack interface also gives you the option to top up your deck. However, it will pass your turn along for doing so and move it on to Sparky's turn. Guard puts your character in a defensive position and passes your turn to Sparky. Battle Pack opens a small window where you can select healing items from your inventory. Escape is a run from the current fight. It seems as if it's always successful, so in theory you can run from every fight. Although this might apply to cozy mode only. If anyone knows more about that, they can let us all know down in the comments below. Then there is the last option, a glossary, which opens to a section of your battle app that tells you more about the NPC that you're in combat with. Combat in SunnySide consists of several important tools. Our Ofuda cards are our weapons, the Omikuji are our shields, and come in 4 varieties of the elements of the planet: fire, water, wind, and earth. At the Kashiwa Shrine, there are 3 tables at the base of the shrine where we can donate to obtain tools for battle. When facing the tables, the one on the very left has the Omamori charms. These provide buffs or extra protection to you and Sparky. The center table is the Omikuji, where you must shake the device on the table to reveal a number, which will then pop up a corresponding scroll from the holding box. The table to the right has 3 boxes containing packs of Ofuda with 5, 7, and 9 cards per pack. There is one more piece of equipment in the game confirmed by devs called the Dorai. I wish I could tell you more about them, but I've yet to find one. Similar to the Omamori, they can be equipped like charms to add protection or boost from what I understand about them. After your first trip down to the caves, discovering that Sparky's Oni friends are now unfriendly to you, you meet with Kaida for a better understanding of this strange new world. At the end of the conversation, Sparky will demand that you hand over your phone, installing an app onto it for a battle planner, a place where you can manually swap out Ofuda cards and add charms or Omikuji to your interface. Under the tab for Sparky, you will be able to add or swap chips that determine the spells Sparky is capable of using. To quickly top up your cards, you can also enter the tab inventory menu, and in the top corner there's a plus sign next to Sparky's flashlight button that will add cards from your inventory. This interface also shows you the state of your and Sparky's battle health. When confronting enemies in battle, you will initially have a single deck interface. More will be added with the more caves that you complete. This gives us space for 15 Ofuda in each deck and a space for different Omikuji to help you with your strategy. This is quite useful considering that increasing levels combine all the hostile mobs that we've seen before. Some enemies are weak to certain elements. Some will resist the spells, in which spells will land but do less than the estimated damage marked on the screen indicators. Other mobs will consume and heal from certain elemental attacks. Some attacks are null or deflected back at you. The consume indicator means that they'll absorb the damage as a heal, and you'll be able to see this when hovering above the cards in your deck directly above the mob's head. Here's some examples. In the Baron's climate, there are red and blue Oni running around. The blue Oni shows a weak indicator above its head in the battle interface when your cursor is hovering above a water type Ofuda, whereas it will show a resist indicator for wind and earth element Ofuda. The red Oni shows a weak indicator with the Ofuda element wind, while it's resistant to the fire element, as well as being neutral to earth and water. These indicators help you figure out how much damage your Ofuda choice is really going to do against specific types of enemies. When the hostile is weak, your attacks are likely to get near or double damage, while the resistant indicator to your attack is likely to be cut in half. It's good to have a mix of cards in your hand to use effectively. You'll still survive, but you can clear caves much faster if you can one-shot just about everything. A similar formula follows Sparky's chip attacks. Some elements work better than others against specific enemies. There's some key information to look for on each Ofuda. In the left top corner of each card, there are a couple of circles. The top one marks the target, meaning that if this Ofuda has a single dot, its an attack will hit a single target. If there are 5 dots, then this card will hit multiple targets. The second dot is a multiplier for the attacks that it does, so if you see it times 2 in the circle, it means the attack will strike the same enemy twice. On some cards, there may be a third dot, one that looks like a flame, for example. This means that there's an applied effect in addition to the initial attack. A flame applies burning to an enemy, which will then residually do fire damage to them on every turn. These markings also show up as a help guide to your strategy on Sparky's chip skills. You can see more about them by hovering over the chips for the tooltip. Not only do you acquire new deck expansions when clearing cave levels, Sparky is also able to expand their abilities by unlocking more spaces to attack chips and chip sets. Most of the chips I've found for Sparky have come by way of using gemstones on caches throughout the levels. Inside some caches, you'll find new elemental chips in copper and gold varieties. The gold chips offer a higher level of skills. These chips often mirror the similar spells as the Ofuda with the same spell name. You'll be able to mix and match them across your different decks and switch spells before attacking. You can add new skills to Sparky's ability by opening up your battle app in the in-game phone and then switching over to Sparky's tab. Drag and drop the chips from your inventory into a new skill space. A complement to your battle strategy are the Omikuji slips that can be obtained from the shrine donation tables. Shake a box on the table and out pops up a stick with a random number. A corresponding container on the holder above will pop out and award you an Omikuji at random. These are essentially buffs for your character and come in levels that are more effective than others. Each combination of protection from different elements. You're able to tell how advanced they are from the marking of the stars on it. In this example here, we have the Omikuji of Small Curse Hurricane. Water damage is cancelled out and wind damage is deflected. An example of an epic 4-star, the Omikuji of Great Curse Corrosion, allows the player to heal from earth and wind attacks. And it says at a cost, but I haven't really been able to discern what the cost is yet. I haven't been able to tell if my attacks are being reduced or that I'm taking any more damage than normal from fire or water attacks that the enemy might use. But if you figure this out, you're welcome to comment down below to help the community out with as much information as we can get. It's really much appreciated. There isn't a dedicated formula to quickly categorize them. They all come with different combinations, some with warnings and some without. So it's important to read the tooltips on your random Omikuji winning to see if it's worth keeping for battles. If you check the Shady Cellar location in Higashi, every so often they carry some of the higher end Omikuji that you can purchase outright rather than having to rely on luck from the shrine. Chipsets for Sparky seem to be an equivalent of this version of the Omikuji. I wish I could tell you more about them, but I've yet to find any. I only just have the one that Sparky came pre-installed with. But I'm not alone. Quite a few players in Discord haven't been able to find any as of yet, so that might be something on the list devs are looking at. The Omamori are cloth charms that can be found on the left of the shrine donation tables. These are colorful little rectangles with an attached string that offer some additional benefits, including protection from the elements or increased experience gain. Omamori can be placed into the designated spaces on the battle app to activate the buffs. Sparky also has spaces allotted for the charms. There's a good indication to which one you're choosing when you look at the table of Omamori. Each one has little graphics on it which suggest its element or bonus. Fire protection ones are speckled in little flame icons, the water ones with waves. You get the point. It's good to have a few of these on hand for protection in caves, but many are also used to unlock battle skills in the Kashiwa tree. When you find yourself low on health and injured to the point where it slows your movement speed, there are healing items to help you restore your hit points, as well as Sparky's hit points. We're introduced to these healing items early on in the quest when we return from the caves for the first time with Sparky. We get a healing tea and pain medication. Both of these, as well as other options, can be obtained at the storefront register at the clinic in the center of town. You're able to brew up your own healing tea by cooking, although I can't remember off the top of my head what level it was exactly, but I believe it can be learned at cooking level 18 by buying the recipe at Naka. Both your and Sparky's hit points should replenish themselves to full when you sleep each night, but I have had a couple instances where that did not happen, so it's always a good idea to have some healing potions on hand, although in cozy mode they're not going to be often needed. One of these days I'll get around to flipping that switch on the game modes to RPG to find out if there are substantial differences in the battle system. I might make a new guide if necessary. If you're looking for more help on figuring out the assorted skills of SunnySide, I have some guides on farming, cooking, and food crafting already uploaded, as well as an overview of getting started. I don't know about you, but I'm absolutely loving this game. I even like the battle mechanic, even though it's the type of turn-based card strategy idea I normally would never buy as a standalone design. I haven't played any combat card games since Yu-Gi-Oh! On the Nintendo Advanced. If you couldn't tell, I'm kinda old, but never have lost my love for video games. I did my time in the MMORPG mines and eventually came out to play mostly wholesome, cozy life simulator type games, so if that's your thing, please check out the channel for more recommendations for your collection. Thanks again for watching, I appreciate you, take care y'all, and bye bye!